Want to learn video marketing strategies that can help you grow your business and brand online?
In this episode, we invite our good friend, Rob Balasabas, content creator at Thinkific, to share why video marketing is so hot right now in 2019.
We also discuss ways to produce videos if you're a solopreneur or startup with a massive marketing budget.
Rob also shares his personal and professional journey with us.
Let the class begin. Welcome to Founders Connect podcast. We help lifestyle entrepreneurs to grow their business online and create a happier marriage.
Did you know that approximately 45% of marriages end up in divorce and 65% of all startups fail due to founder conflicts? Well, we're here to change that.
Each week we bring you an inspiring guest and practical tips to help you with business, relationships, and sustainable living. Now let the fun begin! Hi, I'm Cindy Pham.
And I'm Anthony Chansamuth.
And we're from Founders Connect. Want to hear 25 remote work experts share their amazing strategies and processes for building successful remote work companies and remote team? We've got speakers from leading companies like Thinkific, Evergreen Profits, Dynamite Circle, and Tribe Theory, and more. Register for your free ticket now at www.remotebusinesssummit.com.
That's right, www.remotebusinesssummit.com. We will see you there, November 18 to 22.
Woohoo!
All right, welcome to Founders Connect podcast. And we have with us my brother from another mother over in Vancouver, Rob Balasabas, who is the social media and community manager at Thinkific. He manages the daily curation of Thinkific's message on social media. You'll also find him engaging with their private online community of over 14,000 and growing online course creators inside the Thinkific Studio Facebook group. I know Rob also runs a couple of his own groups. There's the Collaboration Nation group and what's the other one, Rob?
Content Marketing Cafe.
That's the one. So, hey, I know Cindy loves that. She's all about the coffee. So thanks for coming on to the show today, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, guys. Super excited.
So today's topic, we're going to jump into video marketing because you have a background in video. You have a lot of, actually the way we found each other, Cindy asked me this before this call. She said, how did you meet Rob? And I said, well, I actually saw him on a video on LinkedIn. And that's how we connected, right? So let's get into that. Cindy's going to ask you some questions and we'll get going.
All right.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
I don't know. That's such a relative word. I think I'm fairly normal compared to most. I don't know.
And what would your wife say?
I think, you know what? Actually, she would probably say maybe a 7. I don't know. Maybe a 7. Yeah. So
Why 7?
that's the first time I've been asked that question in an interview. So I like it.
Love it. Yeah, we always want to start with a little fun, and just,
of course.
Okay, so beautiful. All right, next question. If you had all the time and money in the world, what would you do?
I think I would travel. I'd still probably be working. I think working gives people purpose. So I think I would probably still be working and traveling. It's one of the things we're trying to do now. While the kids are still young, we have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. So we're trying to make sure travel and seeing different places and cultures is part of sort of our regular rhythms, each year. So Australia is on the list. So maybe next year.
Oh, there you go.
Right on. Well, maybe we'll have somewhere for you to stay by then. So we'll.
Yeah, perfect.
What's your favorite quote, Rob?
The one that jumps out right now, I guess related to like video and everything, is that done is better than perfect. It's been said a lot, and a lot of the people that I talk to, it's like they always have hesitations, but just done is better than perfect. Just get it out and learn from it and do it better next time.
Some people don't even start.
Yeah, that's true.
Plan.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you know about that, Cindy?
A lot.
That's all good. Yeah.
All right. So who's been like your greatest mentor whether it's in your life or in your career? And so what's one thing you've learned from them?
I think there's been always like different seasons of mentors. I think there's not one that I can latch onto and say that that was the one that's carried me through since forever that I can remember. But I think different seasons and different parts of your life, I think there's mentors, as far as like fatherhood, there's other guys, that are a couple stations down the road in that part of life that are my mentors that I ask questions about, that have teenage kids or like kids in their 20s. And then I'm like, hey, what am I going to be expecting, in a few years? So there's those. And then there's a lot of, I would say like, not maybe mentors, but like sort of like a community around what I do for work. A lot of people in real life, like in physical real life, wouldn't really understand what I do. So a lot of those people are online. People like you, Anthony, Paul Thompson, Dan Norton, these guys that are online, that are creating content, doing social media, doing digital businesses. They're sort of my community and sort of the guys that keep me accountable.
Yeah, that's really cool. And we can definitely relate to that. That's why we started Founders Connect. Because
definitely.
Just like you, we didn't know people in our sort of immediate circle who were newly married, who were digital nomads, who knew this like work from home, work from cafe lifestyle thing, and had no idea like how to even begin conversations with us. So we sort of went, well, we need to create that space. And I see you've done that with the Collaboration Nation as well. And I think that's the coffee group. I think that's amazing. And you're right. Technology allows us to do that now, that's so cool.
Yeah, totally. I think, a lot of people will have to, even people now that I talk to, they're like, who's my community? There's no meetups around my space and stuff like that. It's just like, man, just go online. There's so many people that you can connect with and build these communities around yourself. So that's good.
So what do you do and how did you get started?
So I guess right now, as of today, and things always change, but my role, because of, the nature of social media and digital and everything. Yeah. So right now, my official title at Thinkific is Social Media and Community Manager. So I manage all the day-to-day social media content that goes out into the public and all the different social channels. I also manage our online community, which lives in our private Facebook group, and then also our offline community, and trying to think of ways to bridge sort of online and then bring them into real life connections with all of different online course creators. So right now, if you look in the last year or so, we did about 55 different meetups around the world that were hosted by Thinkific users. So in London, in Australia, there's quite a few, in Sydney, Melbourne, I think last week, all over the place. So that's what I do. My background before here has always been digital marketing. So I used to work for a digital marketing agency for about 6-7 years. So that was my world, and building websites and doing SEO and paid ads and all that stuff. So that's how I ended up here.
Stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right. Geeky stuff.
Well, the interesting thing that resonates with me is you have definitely the geeky element, but then you also got the creative. So, and that's where video comes into play, and also the creative elements, whether you're doing imagery or whatever, maybe storytelling, that's all creative stuff that you blend with. It's actually becoming more common, right? Like people are hiring, looking for creatives who have the ability to learn things like SEO.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely like an art and a science kind of thing. It's like you do have to be sort of bold to test out new strategies and test out new things. And at the risk of failing, I think, because if you don't, then you're never really going to grow, and things always change. And so, especially with videos, man, you're putting yourself out there, you're putting your brand out there, you're putting your company out there, and how you're going to be perceived. And it does take some courage, and it makes people freeze a lot. Like there's a lot of like really successful consultants and authors and people that speak on stages, but to create a video for YouTube or LinkedIn, they freeze up and they can't do it. It's weird. But yeah, definitely.
How did you do yours videos?
My videos, that's the thing about me though. It's like, I'm not really too worried about failing, I guess in that sense. Like I just know, I look at social media and I know that the shelf life of a post is so short that, hey, if I create a video today and it bombs or something, then by Tuesday, people will forget. And it's going to be so buried in the feed that it's okay. So, but by doing that, I learn, I kind of see how I talk, how I come off, and then kind of see how people react to that, which is, I think, really important. I test a lot of different things, like if you're going to do a video, I start with a question, and then sometimes I'll start with like some really like captivating hook or something. You test, is it 30 seconds good, or is 5 minutes good, for a length of a video. So I just test around, and that's what I do all day. So yeah.
So let's dive into that and take us through the process. So for people listening to this and maybe they've got those fears, right? Like, I don't want to fail and look like an idiot. And so before we get into the process, let's talk about just the context and why video and why now.
Well, I think as a people, we have a very short attention span. People would, I think, looking at stats, I try to look at stats a lot. I think there's a study done that like 59% of executives would rather watch a video versus reading the exact same content if it was on the same page. So like, you'll see a lot of blog posts now where there's a video embedded on the post, and people will rather just watch that video. And after they watch that video, they don't actually read the rest of the blog. I think the stats are like, there's like 500 million people watching videos on Facebook every single day, right? So there's so much video being consumed. I think 1/3 of online activity now is just watching video, right? So if you look at your own behaviors, I commute, I take the train to work and home every day, and I watch a lot of videos, right? I watch a lot of LinkedIn content, that sort of thing, YouTube content. Yeah, so I think video is just that platform right now, the type of content that people are consuming. So, if you're a brand, you're an entrepreneur, if you don't have any content in that space, then you're not being found, you're not being discovered.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. So you mentioned YouTube and LinkedIn. So in terms of a business or a brand right now, because a lot of our listeners are startups, right? So why do you advocate those platforms specifically in terms of they're probably good places to start putting videos up at this time? At this point in time, we're 2019 now. So why now?
There's a lot of markets that are opening up. For example, I think India, which is a huge market, I think they just opened up, one of the telecom companies finally opened up unlimited data. Wow. I heard anyways. So they just opened up unlimited data, which we've had here, like in North America, I think on Australia. So it's opening up now this possibility where people are in that market. It's a huge market, whether you believe it or not. If you're selling digital products or physical goods, it's a market that you're going to get into. People are going to start consuming YouTube videos because now they have unlimited data, right? Yeah. Which is, sort of that hurdle before. Yeah. So on YouTube, it's owned by Google. So as far as being discovered, you can get discovered by people that are just searching for your products or services. It has a long shelf life because, again, it's being searched. So as long as you have content that is of value, then people, if you upload something today, you'll still get traffic a year from now, right? As long as your content is of value. And so that's free traffic that you're sending to your website, potentially. LinkedIn, I really like LinkedIn because they've made a lot of changes. They're kind of behind on the whole video content aspect of things, right? Facebook, YouTube, Instagram has gone to that a little bit before them. But it's a platform where the algorithms like videos a lot. So if you're creating video content and if people are engaging, liking, commenting on your videos or your content, it's going to show up on their friends, their networks. So it's a good place to get organic reach. And then LinkedIn Live is getting rolled out, which is an exciting thing for a lot of content creators as well. So, LinkedIn is something to watch for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it's definitely a good place for the specific audience you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can talk about targeting, but you can do things like send targeted messages to, using the ad platforms as well.
That's true. That's true.
You are listening to the Founders Connect podcast, helping lifestyle entrepreneurs to grow their business online and create a happier marriage. Now back to the show.
One more thing about LinkedIn that I like is that the stats are, it is a bit of an older demographic, which let's say compared to Facebook or Instagram, it's a little bit older. And so people there generally have buying power or they have the ability to make decisions. So if you are selling product or service, then those people will more likely be able to actually purchase and pull out their wallets. So
that's a very good point. So can you take us through like the process of, let's say we're going to start, someone's listening to this and then go, okay, that sounds great, Rob. I want to start a campaign, in the next couple of weeks. What process would you walk them through in terms of like thinking about the campaign? Because it's not just, hey, take out your phone, record a video right now, right? Like there's some planning involved, I assume, what you're doing. So high level, like what would be the steps for us to create a new campaign together?
If you're just starting out and let's say you're a social media person, just to pick an example, I would create what's called a content wheel. So basically you put yourself in the middle, right? Rob, Anthony, and then you put 5 circles around that. And then you put the 5 topics that you really like to talk about, right? So it might be related to what you do. It might be related to your product or service. So, social media, video content, live streaming, sort of like put the 5 topics. And I would just start talking about those topics. You don't want to talk about yourself. In the beginning, no one really cares who you are, right? Like, it's sort of just the truth. Like, don't go out there and start creating a vlog because nobody really is interested in your life, what you do, what you're having for lunch. They don't really care, right? First, you have to bring value. So you have to give them something that will help them in their day-to-day, something that will, give them a new skill, something that will make their life easier, right? So it's like, okay, well, this is, let's say I'm talking about this. Okay, well, hey guys, if you guys are starting, here are 5 tips on 5 topics to talk about on social media, right? And rotate about, because that's typically the audience that I speak to are like business owners that like, hey, what do I talk about on social media? So create a content wheel and stick to that. Don't go outside of it. Don't get fancy. Don't go too far out. Just stay very, very niche, right? I think this is what I've learned from a lot of YouTubers is that they're very, very niche. They're not afraid to just stay in a very specific topic. So that. Answer questions. So just kind of look around and what questions do people ask you a lot on a day-to-day basis? Frequently asked questions. Just answer those questions. And then each time, as much as I can after each video, always invite people to ask you more questions, right? And so that just basically, they're creating the content for you already, right? So you're like, hey, here are 5 tips on 5 topics that you can talk about on social media on a weekly basis. Monday to Friday, here's the topic for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and so on. Hopefully that helps. What other questions do you guys have? And so they may ask you like, hey, like how do I, live stream? What software do I use for doing closed captions, whatever it may be? And then that just kind of perpetuates itself into more content.
Are we learning stuff, Cindy?
Yeah. Of course. I mainly did that one.
No.
Sidetracking.
I like to go off topic. I do rants.
Yeah. I do that too. It's just like, it's so easy. So I think it's harder to be focused than to not be, but yeah.
But I think, a good place to do, if you're going to do a rant, would be something like an Instagram story. Where, that's more people who sort of kind of following you, where then if you're just doing for your brand per se, and you're just teaching and educating, then LinkedIn would work nicely for that. Yeah. So kind of choosing where you put the content is important as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. Also, the channel does depend on that too. Yeah. So Instagram story, totally be casual, kind of show like the things that you're doing on a daily basis. It's more like behind the scenes, right? Whereas like LinkedIn, it's like, okay, who are you? Deliver. You got to deliver, right? Because people are kind of like, they have a short attention span. They're business people typically, so Instagram stories is definitely somewhere where you can be a little bit more fun and laid back, more behind the scenes.
Now, what about like, how long should the videos be? What have you sort of found and tested? Do I do an epic, 10, 20 minute documentary type thing? Or do I just stick to 2 minutes? Or what would you recommend to our listeners?
Very good question. Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So the same content, let's say I had a 5-minute video on exactly this, what topics to talk about on social media. If I post it out on YouTube and if I post it on LinkedIn, that same person will probably watch it if it was on YouTube, but they won't watch it on LinkedIn. The reason is that like, if you're on LinkedIn, you're not really there to sit down and consume something long-term, like longer form. You're there to scroll because, you have a coffee break or you're on the train or something. But if you're like on YouTube, you're like, okay, yeah, I can sit through like 5-10 minutes, as long as it's good value. So I think it's more an issue of like repurposing to the right channel. So I do this all the time. So when I upload an interview, it's like usually a 30 to 45 minute interview on my YouTube channel. Yeah. I then take 30 to 60 second clips that I post on LinkedIn. That's some type of like value bomb, nugget bomb or something, like something really hard hitting. And then it's kind of like a teaser, like, a trailer for a movie. And they say, hey, if you want to watch the full interview, you can go to my YouTube channel right here. That's typically the same. And then you can do the same thing on Instagram too. That's just everything pushes to YouTube. I think this is probably a longer conversation kind of thing, but there's sort of like, I kind of look at social media, especially content repurposing, kind of like a pyramid where YouTube is really at the top, right? And then you create like smaller pieces of content, exactly like a pyramid. Yeah. So YouTube's at the top, and then you take smaller chunks of that longer form video for the other channels, but it all points back up to YouTube. Let Google kind of, feed Google all of that traffic so that they'll show you up on search results and organic traffic.
How do you then move people from YouTube to your website, where you assume that's where your services are happening?
Yeah.
You're saying go to YouTube at the top and not your website?
Yeah, so you could do both. You can put your YouTube videos on your blog as well if you want to do that way. And then maybe on your blog, you're retargeting and you're putting pixels for retargeting on Facebook, if that's sort of your strategy. But if you're driving people, let's just sort of simplicity. If you're driving people to YouTube, then in the description, put all the links in the description. There's a really good tool that I use called Morning Fame. Morning Fame is a really good tool. So, as far as like finding out the titles that work well for you and all that stuff. But yeah, put your video, your links in the description. Also put it as the first comment and then pin it, right? So put your call to action in the first comment and then pin it. Just a little bit of vanity as well, so that when people are going through the videos, they'll see, oh, there's a comment here already. Then I can then start commenting as well. It's kind of like when you go to a store and there's nobody there and you're like, I don't want to go to the store. But, there's
someone else is in there. Yeah.
Yeah, someone else is in there. Yeah.
I want to be the first to the party. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. That's awesome, Rob. Thanks. Did you like that?
Yeah, of course. That's very good. I've learned quite a lot of stuff there that I can totally implement now.
Oh, yeah.
Just quickly, what about video editing? I assume you do your own editing, but for people who are like, I don't want to have to go learn Adobe Premiere and these sort of things, what sort of tools can you recommend to our listeners?
Honestly, I use iMovie. So there's a really good YouTuber named Steve Dotto that I follow, and he basically, everything is a template for him. So he has his intro, outro already done. It's always the same every single time. And then just the middle of the part changes. Yeah, I mean, you can get really fancy in the beginning. Don't get too hung up on it. I would just answer the question, introduce yourself, answer the question, and then invite questions after. That's it. And that's your template. So yeah, you don't have to get too fancy with emojis and all that stuff.
So you're saying it doesn't need all these animations and things?
No, not in the beginning.
The next Avengers movie is going to come out. Doesn't have to be like that.
No, not in the beginning. Yeah. You don't need an Oscar for it yet.
Like, speaking about this, I mean, we're joking about it, but what's your take on people like holding selfie sticks like iPhone and those type of videos? Do they have value? Does it work? What's your sort of feel on that?
Yeah. I mean, just because you're editing doesn't mean it has to be super well produced. Like I tell people, just use your phone and then answer a question, post it on LinkedIn. It's all good. It's done. I think there's a time and place. Yeah, I think it's totally fine. Again, as long as you're bringing value, you're answering questions, you're helping people learn something to improve or make their life easier, it doesn't really matter. So use your phone. It's totally fine. I use my webcam on my MacBook. That's totally fine as well. So, cool.
Well, you're a busy man. I heard you have a side hustle as well as a family. So how do you juggle all that?
Well, so side hustle, yeah. So I do some consulting as well. And so I think I've been, I'm kind of, the position that I have at Thinkific is just a huge blessing, just because I get to do what I really enjoy. I truly, and it's not because I work here, but I really, truly enjoy what I do. I get to come into work and I get to test new strategies and new technology and new apps and all that stuff for video and content creation. And then I'm allowed to fail. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's not like, hey, if you fail, it's like, okay, well, now we know what doesn't work. Let's see what does work. And then what does work, we're able to double down on it, right? So it's a easy place to be at in that sense. And so my side hustle, it's something that a lot of us here at Thinkific are very entrepreneurial. We come from backgrounds where, we are entrepreneurial. But I wanted to do something that I enjoyed. I wanted to do something that's sustainable, because I know that I already have a pretty demanding position where I am. And then, of course, I have a family, and so I can't be working 7 days a week. So I wanted to do something that I enjoy, that is sustainable. And I just intentionally am being very picky as far as who I work with. So, as far as a side hustle, I'm not saying, but it's not really something that I need the side hustle to sustain certain, it's more to be within that ecosphere of thinking like, the customers that we have, thinking like the course creators and understanding the marketplace. For me, I created a course and I sold it using the strategies that we tell people to do, right? So it's like, I felt like I needed to do this before I told these course creators what to do, right? So kind of walk the walk or whatever. So
I love that, man. That's so important, because it's one of my entering rant mode, but there's a lot. I mean, you would have seen this, a lot of people out there who claiming they can do things and like, what are the actual results? Like, have you actually launched your own course before? Good that you're doing that. Actually, I can see how that works, complements what your role is within the company. Thanks for tagging me on LinkedIn. Like, there was this Thinkific is hiring right now in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Like, man, I wish we were over there.
Just move. Come on.
Bring it over to Australia, dude. I'm there. Like, workers, it's a thing.
You know what? Actually tell them like, okay, are we allowed to be remote quite yet? Like, it's kind of a gray area. Like, there's some support that's remote. Sorry, I know you have a question, but really on this side, I'm like, how about marketing? Is it okay if, like, let's say someone from here wanted to open a satellite office for marketing in Australia, right. Is that something that they would do? Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, it's fun. I'm like, yeah, let's go there. But maybe down the road, man.
Maybe. So. Hey, we'll stay in touch. But it's it's an online business selling online course training. So it's like, come on,
I know.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Cindy.
You are listening to the Founders Connect podcast, helping lifestyle entrepreneurs to grow their business online and create a happier marriage. Now back to the show.
So how did you balance that? All three?
Yeah. So you're saying like family and work and everything? Well, okay. So first, I think Justine is my wife, and I think communication with Justine is really important. I think that's like looking back, it's just like communication, just like simple things of communicating, who does what, the simple things like what time I'm going to be home each day. Like, hey, I'm going to be home. I'm going to be a little bit late. We've got this event kind of thing. So communicating that, also communicating goals. Like, okay, here's like, you guys work for communicating finances and like, okay, here's our goals this quarter, like this year, like we want to do some traveling. This is where we want to go. Okay, how much is that going to cost? And so communication, I think, is a really big thing. And then staying in my lane. So for example, again, staying with finances, Justine handles all the finances. Like see? So, I mean, you handle it all, right? Yeah.
If we want to save any money, don't give it to me. That's how it works.
Yeah. I know. I'm the same way. So yeah, I think staying in my lane, I know what I'm doing. I focus on work. I focus on everything else. But then, finances, I like literally whenever, funds come in, just send it to her. I don't think about it. And I know it's being handled. I trust that. So yeah, I think that. And then putting time into the calendar for weekly date nights and those kind of things, right? Like just practical things, with Justine. And then I have a 9-year-old boy and an 8-year-old girl. So Friday nights, me and my son, we have a boys' night. So we'll So we'll just, nothing crazy, but just like really simple. We'll go to a coffee shop. He'll bring his comics. We read them, just hang out, whatever it is, and just get in the rhythm of that. Like, we have time together. Like, what's new? How's your week? Right? Same thing with my daughter. We have a date night every Saturday night. So just putting those things, I think, into the calendar, just like you do with everyone else in your life, putting those things in the calendar really helps. And then the last thing that I want to suggest is I've been starting to shut off my phone on Saturdays.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, what a great idea. I wonder who thought of that one, eh?
So that helps. Especially with our space, right? Man, like this thing can go off all day, all night.
Yeah.
And if you don't put a boundary around it, it'll take over your life. So
absolutely.
Look at the finger pointing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying nothing though.
No.
I think Cindy and Justine could have a real good conversation about that.
Yeah, I think so.
Did you establish all this at the beginning of your relationship or
No.
Oh, okay.
No, absolutely not. We made all the mistakes. I'm sure everyone does. No, these are just things I think you just kind of chip away at it. And I think just like work, you test things and it doesn't work. You try something else, right? So yeah, and it doesn't happen every week. Like date nights don't happen every week. So nothing's perfect. But yeah, it's something that we're just constantly working on.
And you want to know, how do they meet?
That's my next question.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. That's the question I was about to ask, but apparently he just read my mind. So ask it, why don't you, baby?
So, Rob, how did you meet your wife?
And how did you know that she was the one for you?
I wish she was here. She tells the story way better. The summarized version is we had mutual friends in high school. She didn't like me. She thought I was kind of a snobby guy, but I was really just really shy and very introverted. Anyways, fast forward to college. I bumped into her going home once. This is like my early 20s. So I rode a motorcycle. I don't know, maybe Anthony, you did too?
Cool.
I don't know.
No, I did that in my 30s, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go. But it was fall, so it was raining. So I took the train home. Anyways, bumped into her after like 5 years of not seeing her. Got her number again. We started connecting, went on a date, and that was it. Let her tell you the longer version someday. We'll go to Australia. But yeah, that's really how we met.
Was that the moment that you thought she was the one?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, saw her, like, okay, well, let's make it happen. I'll let her tell the story. But actually, the first time I asked her to be my girlfriend, she said no. And then pursued it, kept going. But yeah, there you go.
Persistence pays.
Yeah, that's right.
Do women appreciate that?
How did you guys meet?
Hell yeah.
Guys? Yeah, how about you guys?
I would definitely appreciate it. I'm very used to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell the story how we met?
No, I think you should.
Fine. Okay.
Conversation.
We're going to shorten this because we don't want this to be blown into like a 2 hour.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But essentially, we met at a personal development seminar in Sydney. And I had accompanied a friend there who was going through something at the time. And then lo and behold, this amazing angel was sitting there in the audience. And so, and the funny thing is, like what you said with your experience was, I actually was one of the speakers at this event, right? Like I spoke for like 15 minutes and she does not remember any of that at all. Like she totally does not remember it. And Cindy was not a great first impression, I suppose, but something worked out and here we are.
Here you are. There's got to be a longer version to that. We'll
there is on our website, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Perfect.
And we'll tell you afterwards.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. Moving on.
So what do you have to let go of in order to get your business to where it is now?
Or your career.
You mean like moving forward or?
So to get to where it is now.
So if you were to look back at who you were even 5 years ago to who you are now, like have there been any expectations or beliefs or anything that you've had to overcome yourself to get to where you are now and enjoy the space you're in right now? Yeah.
I think just getting out of your own way. And I think a lot of people are like that. They have like these self-limiting beliefs about themselves and what they can do. And I think just in the last little while, I'd say like not even that long, maybe in the last couple of years or so, it's been more like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, you create some type of content or, you put something out there and what's the worst that can happen, right? You're going to learn from it. So I think like if I was to give my 5 year ago version some advice, it would just start, whatever that was 5 years ago, just start it, rather than like putting it off, like, oh, I'm not ready. I need more experience or I need, just start whatever that was.
So we're going to fast forward 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Right? What are you starting now that's setting you up for that time?
Again, I'm not really sure. Like I get asked this a lot, like, because in my head, there's a lot of different ways that I could go. I truly enjoy being a Thinkific. So I see myself still being here and growing. It's an exciting time for the company, where I started here when we were at about 15 employees and now we're, I think, about 80 employees.
Wow.
And so it's an exciting time. Team is growing. The whole awareness for online courses is growing. It's the mission itself. I have no examples, but it's not like there's like a good mission where basically you're trying to, make education accessible for almost anyone. And how can you not get behind that kind of a mission? So I enjoy that. So 5 years from now, who knows? Like there's a chance I'll probably still be here. I think as far as on the other side, like side hustle and stuff like that, I think that will grow. So again, whether that grows into some type of coaching program or, small group coaching, something like that, where I'm able to share ideas rather than like be a service. Because I've been in that side of things where it's like service provider and like running campaigns for people. I think I'd much rather enjoy the coaching side and training side. So that's probably how that looks. I'm not sure, but I think that's the direction. So yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
And you're coming to Australia. That's already been...
Yeah, next.
I'm hoping so. Yeah. I'm hoping so. Never been. I have a cousin that's in South Wales. I'm not sure where that is.
New South Wales. Yeah, that's it. That's the state or province that Sydney is in. Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, I have a cousin there. So that's likely where I'll be.
Were you born in Vancouver? Like, what's your...
No, I was born in the Philippines and came here when I was 10 years old.
All right.
Still 10 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one place we didn't go to. Cindy has an auntie that was in Vancouver last year when we were in Montreal. So
Calgary.
Yeah. Or Calgary.
Are you guys coming to Vancouver? Is that a place that's on your list or?
That's on the list. We're actually sort of discussing 2020 Burning Man. So that's not too far away from Van City. So
yeah. Nice. Sounds good.
So what's the one book or resource that's really mentioned that had made a significant impact in your life?
That's a good question. The one that always comes in, I think it was real turning point, was about 2 years ago. I got recommended to this book. I don't know the exact title. Is by Jim Collins. So Good They Can't Ignore You, I think was the title.
Yeah.
Good to Great. Yes, sorry. Thank you. Yeah. So that's a book that, really stands out to still like sort of a big one that changed a lot of the thinking in my head, those self-limiting beliefs and everything. Just do what you do. Whatever it is, just do it really well. And people can't ignore that, right? So that's the biggest takeaway from that book. And I try to carry that on with what I do myself and also when I talk to people. Do what you're doing. Maybe it sucks. Maybe it's not your dream job, but do it really well. And eventually people are just not going to be able to ignore that, your work ethic, all the other things around that. And opportunities will open up.
There you go.
All right. So we're going to wrap it up. We've got we're just really enjoying this, talking to you. It's really cool, man. And okay, we're going to change the question a little bit because we usually have this one question we end with, but I'm going to change it a little bit because you have kids. So if at the end of your life and we're on your saying bye, okay, and this I know is emotional, what piece of advice would you leave to your children?
Oh, that's a great one.
Oof, what piece of advice? I don't know if it'd be advice. I would just say, and I do this now, I just say, I'm proud of you. No matter what it was, whatever it was. And I do this now because I think it's really important. I think a lot of, especially for men, I think you seek that approval. And girls as well, right? Females as well. So yeah, I don't know if it would be advice. Hopefully I've given them enough by that point that no advice is needed. But I think just sort of like, hey, I'm proud of you. Whatever you did, whatever you're going to do, I'm proud of you. So that's what I would say.
Well, are we proud of Rob right now?
Yeah, love you.
We're proud of you, brother.
Proud of you guys, man. Good for you guys.
That really hits home for me. And tell you what, doesn't matter how old you are, that's still something you want to hear from one of your loved ones. Yeah. That's just huge.
Parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Full respect, Rob. So where can people connect with you? Obviously, Thinkific.com. They can go and check out all the content there. But what about other places where people connect with you?
If you look up my name, you probably have to copy and paste from the show notes how to spell my last name. But if you look that up on any social channel, you should find me. Typically, I'm on Instagram the most, and then also LinkedIn. And then there's also a Content Marketing Cafe Facebook group. If you want to come and hang out with us, we just talk about content marketing and creation strategies all the time. And that's where you can find me.
Awesome.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So we'll put all those links in the show notes for you guys, and definitely check out who this dude is because he's amazing. And the content, like the videos that you put up, just really
thank you guys.
Okay. Thanks everyone. And we will see you real soon.
Thanks guys.
Okay, Cindy. So what did you like about that conversation? What lesson could you take away from Rob and how he does life and business?
Well, he does it very systematically, I say, isn't it? So basically anything important, you need to schedule it in your diary, calendar. You're busy entrepreneurs.
You like how he has a date night with his daughter and with his son as well?
Exactly. And that's in the calendar as well. But that is definitely...
and with his wife, of course.
Of course. And that was definitely one thing that's very different. I think it's the first time I've heard somebody schedule like a dad to spend both time individually with every daughter, child. Yes. And also video is in at the moment. So better get cracking.
That's right. That's definitely my key takeaway is around video marketing, which is why I wanted to have Rob on our show, because he's the expert when it comes to this stuff. And really 2019 going to 2020, there's a lot of focus on video streaming, and it's much easier now. You know, everyone's looking to YouTube for tutorials on how to do stuff. And it's the second most popular search engine on the planet. And now other platforms like Instagram Stories, LinkedIn Video. LinkedIn is introducing their own LinkedIn Live coming real soon. They're already testing it with some of the influencers like String Nguyen, who's one of our friends, and definitely something to look at. And another key takeaway is just around how easy it is to get up and going. You don't have to be professional with professional equipment, a professional videographer. You can literally do it on your phone. We've been doing it on our Android phone, on our iPhone. We've been doing FB Lives and all kinds of things, and really more focusing on just being real and just sharing what you know and connecting with your community. So that's the takeaway. So go away and implement the things that Rob has spoken about, and let us know how you go. Are you using video? Are you putting that as part of your marketing strategy? And if you have a family or you're in a relationship, let us know your tips on how to manage work, passion, hobbies, friends, and lover.
Business.
Well, I was going to say lover. But
what? What? Another lover on top of that?
Yeah, dude.
So we need to talk, isn't it?
That's right. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Ciao. Thanks for tuning in. And remember to live passionately,
Purposefully,
and confidently. Till next time. Ciao.